board. We'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to go see if I didn't see any questions filled out on the form, but that's okay. I'm just going to double check here. But what can we help you with today, Jana?
Oh my goodness. It's been a week. I just before I hopped on, finished the stress and hormones module.
Awesome.
So that was really good. My biggest question in regards to that module specifically was I ever for the last few years I have had this horrendous allergic reaction every time I use essential oils. So I get really bad hives, even lavender. Like I can't even use hand soap with lavender in it. I get hives all over my fingers. And so I know some of the stress relieving things in there, were kind of ways to relieve stress using those. But I'm just curious, are there any other things like oils that aren't oils that could work?
Yeah. So are you referring to just the video training, or are you referring to the document that goes along with it? Or I just want to make sure that we're...
So the video training, it was the hour and 12-minute one where you were just talking about ways to work. And I'm literally up all the documents right now about it.
Okay.
So yeah, both. But I mean, I guess I was just as I was listening, I was like, oh, these are really good things. Just even, prioritizing what self-care looks like in different seasons and things like that were really good. Because I think probably that's going to be my biggest game changer. But
right.
But the oils part, I was like, oh man, I just wish I could use oils, but I just have such bad reaction every time. I even got an essential oils massage one time, and the lady used all the pregnancy safe ones because I was pregnant at the time, and my entire back was hives for weeks.
I'm so sorry.
And so I just, it's okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd be cautious too, for sure.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, well now I'm kind of freaked out, and at our church they clean with thieves oil, and I can't even help them clean unless I have gloves.
Yeah, totally.
So I don't know.
Do you have that same reaction by breathing it in, like when it's diffused, or just when it's applied topically?
I used to use a diffuser with Young Living, and never had that reaction, but that was before I started having the reactions. And so I'm a little afraid to try it.
Yeah, I don't blame you with that. Let me take a look at something here, because I think some of it is, some of what we talked about on your private call with the cortisol issues, but let me just pull up the supplements that we talked about so I can refresh my memory.
Jana, just out of curiosity, do you happen to have, because I know sometimes when people are allergic to essential oils, they can also have allergy to pollen or different environmental allergies. Is that something that you experience as well?
I never used to, but I have been the last few years. And oddly enough, it all kind of started before I had kids. We had a miscarriage. And so it started with that miscarriage, all of the sensitivity, my horrible eczema, everything. So I was convinced from the get-go it was hormone related. And obviously now I'm doing what I can to deal with the hormones, but I have noticed that component hasn't changed a lot, even when I'm in this, I had a miscarriage, and then 9 months later I got pregnant. And then I've been pregnant or nursing for the last 6 years up until August of just this 2023. So I know that my hormones have been off, or not off, but just in an odd place for the last 7 years or so.
For sure.
So I don't know if it's one of those things where it will eventually kind of balance out, but because of the hives, I just get freaked out because I'm like, well, what if I get them in my mouth, or what if I get them? I don't know.
Totally. Did you by chance get any vaccines when you were pregnant with that pregnancy or before,
No,
like within like 6 months before?
nope, I did not get any. I haven't had any since I was a kid,
Okay.
probably. Maybe actually no, I had a Hep A when I was like 15 years ago.
Okay. No, I was just curious because that in pregnancy when your immune system is already lower, can cause some autoimmune issues. But I'm just looking back at the supplements that I recommended based off of your Dutch panel. Um,
Mhm.
and so a couple of them I think are going to address that, just the feelings of high stress. So the one that's specifically for your cortisol pattern, and then the GI Revive, which is for helping to kind of seal up the gut lining. Because
Okay.
a lot of times, when that mucosal lining is allowing everything in, it increases your histamine response. So we end up having really high histamine in the gut, which then causes high histamine in the body, which then creates this, overreaction to all of the different things in the environment. So we're kind of looking at it from, we don't want to palliate your symptoms, meaning we don't want to just, give you a quick fix solution for stress, like oils might be, they're quick in the moment, they work really well on the nervous system, but aren't really addressing the deeper reasons why you're having some of those like high stress symptoms. So that being said, I definitely would, have you started the supplements yet or not? Not quite yet.
I was going to order them this week.
Okay.
We
Mm.
we were inundated with the cow situation and
Yeah,
the barn situation.
that is totally understandable.
And
I
actually,
just was curious. Yeah.
no, you're good. My husband found mold in our shower. He's a contractor, so
Oh
he
no.
literally tore apart the master bathroom and
Okay.
is doing everything. So I'm like, all at once, the
Yeah.
cow, you know, died, and then the barn roof blew off in the like 100-mile-an-hour winds we were having.
Oh
Then
my word.
he's like tearing apart our master shower, and I'm like, okay, all right, just
I'm
stabilize.
so
We're okay.
sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. It sounded comical because I was like, not I mean, it's not comical, but you know what I mean. It's one of those points where you're like,
Rains it
okay, just
pours.
roll with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I need to order him this week, but I just hadn't yet. So
That's okay. No, I was just, I like, okay, if you've already started them, then we could assess, how you're doing with them. But if you haven't started them, that's okay. But I do think that's going to address kind of the deeper issue, the deeper like stress response issue that you're having, as
okay.
well as some of the allergies. And I would not, if you've had that kind of response before to essential oils, I personally wouldn't push the issue, meaning like I wouldn't force myself to feel like I had to try those. You can try something else called Rescue Remedy for moments of stress. It's a little herbal tincture. It's actually a homeopathic tincture that you just spray under your tongue, or you put a couple of drops under your tongue. That works really well for moments of stress.
Of that.
Oh, good.
Does that come with tablets, like almost like
They
cough drop
do.
type things?
Yeah, they do have tablets too.
I, I tried those and they really did work. They were great.
Yeah. So for those moments of stress, where you're like, you're driving and the kids are screaming in the back seat, or you lose a cow, or your roof blows off, and you're like, well, didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
Those are great to use for in the moment, but I would not stress using essential oils if your body is in that kind of like reactive state. We want to be really careful about not overstimulating it.
Okay.
And so, and I'm a big fan of oils, like I love essential oils, but there are times where that maybe is not the best choice for you. So I would stick with the Rescue Remedy and then getting on the supplements that are going to work on some of those deeper layers of, why you're having some of those reactions. Carly, did you have any thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I kind of my immediate thought it was like the time when some of the allergies and stuff were flared or came up could have also just been related to high stress during that time too. So I'm curious to see, with, I don't know, again, do you get seasonal allergies at all?
A little bit. Yeah. Oops, sorry. I just dropped.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm
yes.
curious to see, like, as your liver cleans out, and as your immune system stabilizes and gets stronger with the protocols, if you might see an improvement in seasonal allergies too. So,
Yeah,
because a lot of times, like liver congestion can be related to, high cortisol and high stress. So, that's more of just a like something I'm curious about to see.
that's a good point. I just started my cycle yesterday,
Okay,
and I've also noticed that it's just a lot lighter, which is
good.
great.
Awesome. So good.
So, and we are starting to get blooming and everything here, like when I would start having like a lot of sneezing and a lot of things like that, and I haven't been having
Mhm.
it as much. So I'm hoping. So I mean, I think you're onto something, Carly. That's really good to keep so that I can keep an eye on that. Be aware of that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. It's kind of like this, it's kind of, I mean, it's not kind of like, it is kind of a trauma response in the body when we have a loss like that. And high stress, and it just kind of gets lodged in the system, if that makes sense. It gets like it locks down the nervous system. And so it'll be interesting to see like when we start to shift the cortisol and even some of the gut symptoms that you've been having, if you notice that histamine come down. Um, because the other thing too is that high cortisol, like cortisol, God bless it, we need it for some things, but when it's out of whack, it is like a bull in a china shop. It's just mean. It just does all the things it wants. It does not care what it's messing up in the body. It's very purposeful in what it's doing, but it causes a lot of problems. And so the high cortisol will also increase your histamine, which is why a lot of women notice like in their late 30s, early 40s that they're having, food allergies, seasonal allergies, stuff that they were not experiencing before. So it is, it's a combination of the liver, the gut, and a whole bunch of other things. So I think um getting that shifted into a better place is going to feel a lot better on your body for sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. What other questions do you have for us today?
Um, is there, I had in regards to the greens, is there specific, I know in the module it talked about like all the green lettuces, like, dark leafy lettuces and spinach and kale and that type of stuff. Is there any that like I don't know how to ask. Should they be rotated? Is it just more like does it even matter? Like you just get in the green stuff, like whatever is green, just get it in. You know what I mean? Or should like can you kind of overdo it on one and maybe miss something in another? Like because spinach I know has so much iron or whatever. Like if you're doing 6 cups of spinach a day, should you be balancing it out with like maybe 3 cups and 3 cups of romaine? Or I don't know. I was thinking about it as I was cooking the other day. I'm like, I wonder if I'm getting enough balance because of what each one would offer.
Yeah, that's a great question. Carly, you want to take the lead on this one?
Yeah, totally. I like that question a lot because, yes, that's true. Spinach and like the dark leafy greens do contain a lot of iron. Um, and so I think I actually haven't ever really thought about this, but that's a really good question because I mean, in any scenario with fruits or veggies, it is really good to cycle through them because they all have like with green vegetables, there's some sort of like there's a lot of similarities in their nutritional profile, but also differences. And so I would say, yeah, you could definitely cycling through them is a good idea, but to not get too focused on that because you're still getting a lot of awesome nutrition with whichever ones you're choosing. So I find it really easy to throw in like the leafy greens and kind of whatever I'm doing, and then maybe add a different type of greens on the sheet. For like dinner or for lunch. But if I don't get to it, I don't stress about it. So, yeah, all that to say it is a good idea, but to not to not try to over focus on that. So
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind
Awesome.
of like what I heard you say, Carly, and Andrea's interpretation of that. And this is
Mhm.
because I can be lazy sometimes. Um, at the end of the day, it's however you get your greens in, like, is better than not getting any greens in. Variety is
Yeah.
always better for the body. It's always better for the microbiome to switch things up. It's better for like micronutrient profiles and stuff like that. But if again, if you're looking at, your day and you're like overthinking it, right? And then you get to a place where you don't make a decision or you're like, I'm just not going to eat any of it because it's too overwhelming. It's better to just, if all you can get in is spinach and you're okay with that and that's like your jam, that's
Yeah.
okay. So adding things in and being flexible where you can and where it feels good and it doesn't feel overwhelming or stressful, is kind of what I'm hearing you say with that, Carly, and then just
Yeah.
not overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. No, that's helpful. I mean, just a fun little side note. I'm in the middle of starting a huge vegetable garden. We've done little stuff
Right.
before, but I've got probably like 200 heads of lettuce growing. But as I was as I was like seeding all of the lettuce and greens and stuff, that's kind of one of the questions that was on my mind too, is like,
Yeah.
how do I make sure I can get variety from this? Not,
Yes.
so I'm not just eating spinach or not just eating kale all the time,
Totally.
So
That's
Exactly.
awesome.
That's awesome. I love that. And my goal this year, like we got pretty good at growing the greens and now I want to figure out how to preserve them because we
yeah.
had so many greens last year. I was like, neighbors, do you want some here's some lettuce. Because we have so many, like, and then you cut them and then they grow back like
Mm-hmm.
so fast. And I just was not, obviously I didn't read I don't read instructions sometimes. And so I'm just like, I'll just throw it in there and see what happens. Um, and so yeah, we had a lot.
Wow.
So now I'm like, now I want to figure out how to preserve them because I know they're going to grow back this year without us having to replant them. So yeah, so I'm right there with you. I'm just figuring, using the land that we have, which isn't a ton, figuring out how to get, like if I don't have to spend $9 on a bag of, spinach at the store, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So you'll have to share some of your tricks with us, Jana, when you figure it out.
Yeah.
But
I'll go hop on our private thread and send you some pictures and see what works.
yes,
We're
That's great.
researching some of the ways to make like lettuce really just last longer in the
yes,
garden. But all that aside, I also, if you figure out any ways to store it, let me know because I
I
have a
will.
feeling I might have the same problem. I've heard of freeze drying is great, but I don't have a freeze dryer,
Ooh,
so
I don't have
like,
that either. But it might be worth getting one or like a dehydrator or something. I know I'm thinking about that too. I'm like, which things do we need this season? But we'll see. We'll see if we can figure out how to preserve them um a little bit better. But what other questions do you have for us today? Is there anything else we can help you with?
I think that's the last one. The only other thing that I can think of is that I did have this last week a little bit of an uptick of heart palpitations again, but I'm pretty sure it was during hormone shifts. And I noticed, Andrea, because I would look at the time of day that they were happening more,
Hmm.
and and they were the worst right around the 1.5 to 2 hour mark after I got up,
Okay.
which is
Mhm.
right with the cortisol spike usually,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
And then also in the afternoon, like
Yeah.
if my blood sugar got low,
Yep.
because I noticed times that I would think back, I would start to have kind of like ones that made me nervous. And then I was
Yeah.
like, how much protein I had? And so then I could grab, a piece of chicken or whatever
Yeah.
because it was something was off. So I don't
Good.
know. The cardiologist once told me blood sugar wouldn't do that, but I don't know that I believe it. So I'm
It
just
does.
okay. Okay.
It does
Okay.
though. Yeah, I
Okay.
know. I had a similar, I mean, yeah, I've had issues like that too. And I had a similar issue in pregnancy and they did the whole like cardiac workup and they're like, oh, you're totally fine. I was like, okay, well, I'll work with somebody else then, I guess. And for me, it's always been tied to my blood sugar. So yes, it will. throw off,
Okay.
you know, it may not be a measurable rhythm in terms of like sending you into atrial fibrillation or something like that, but it's still a fluttery feeling that you can feel.
Mhm.
And so that may be that may be what they're looking at, is they're looking at something different than what you're looking at and what you're feeling. So yes, getting the cortisol supplements are going to help a ton. Getting the gut lining back into a better place is going to be super helpful for you. Because it's gonna, you know, you're
'Cause
gonna
that will
be
help
absorbing more
too,
food, you're
right?
gonna be absorbing more nutrients that way. It helps with blood sugar regulation. So there's a lot that's gonna resolve, I think, for you.
Okay, so there's nothing that would make those worse in the supplements that we're gonna do.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay,
Yeah, and we'll keep an eye on it. If you do have a weird reaction, it's always workaroundable. But
okay,
to my knowledge and what I've seen, no, I would not anticipate that for you.
okay, perfect. Yeah, I mean, I was pretty vigilant this last week about checking, you know,
Good.
the clock and my food stuff, and it was
Awesome.
almost always fixed after I ate,
Yep.
or it was noticed right at that 1.5 to 2 hour mark after I got up, and I was like, okay, according to the Dutch plan, well, that's when my cortisol kind of went a little cattywampus. So
Yeah, right. Yep.
yeah,
You are not alone
so
with
that's okay. Yeah, that's all I had. I was
Awesome. Well,
thinking.
you are doing amazing. We're praying for you, for your home, for, you know, it's not a small thing when you lose a farm animal. So, we will be praying for you. And if there's anything else you need, just let us know, okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. All right, ladies, for those of you watching the replay, if you have any questions for us after the call, don't hesitate to put it in the group chat or your private chat if you are a VIP member. So thank you so much, Carly, for being on here today, and we will see you ladies later. Bye.